Greetings and welcome back to the lab. Today we're going to talk about we're back to the 4th of July project, and I need to build one more of these blue ornaments. And this is a small one. Well, actually it's a medium one, but I have on the red ones, let me just pull that out and show you. So I'm storing them in these boxes so I can kind of keep track of things. So I've got one medium and one large here. That's what I'm trying to say. I didn't make smalls for the red, I don't think. Now that I look at it, I gotta check that. You know what? I thought I was all set to go, but here's sort of live-ish video, and here's what I had rigged up before. So that is indeed a medium there, by which I mean I've got 3 circles and the medium is the middle circle. And there's another red in here, which is a large. So I want to replicate that. I'm going to do large and medium. And in terms of the blue, I've got medium and large. So let's get this out of the way. So in addition to that, I've got one more large and one more medium on the red. And all I have left is a medium on the blue. So I need a large on the blue. So I can get rid of these circuit boards here. I've already looked it up, and the blues, I was using a 62 ohm resistor. On the reds, I was using a 390 ohm resistor. That just happened to be what I determined for making them equally bright using the LEDs that I have. And I think these are the same LEDs. So I've got the LEDs I need. I've got the resistors I need. I'm also going to need one of the headers. It's a 4-pin header. Basically, it's a string of headers, and I just knocked off or cut off 4 of them. And those will go on here from the back and go right in like that, so that it will be the same as this one here, and that'll connect into the coupler, which we'll get to eventually. So enough of that. I'm going to start building. We'll just jump into time lapse and we'll get this one built, and then we'll give it a quick test. But just before we jump into time lapse, it occurs to me I need to mention that for the large, there are 4 resistors on the back. For the medium, there are 3 resistors on the back, and for the small, there's only the 2, because there are, I believe it's 12 or 16, yeah. So there's 1 resistor for every 4 LEDs, and they are actually wired in series so that the resistor comes, well, before or after doesn't really matter. But if you consider that it's 12 volts going in, these are about a 3-volt LED, give or take. That's why I don't need very much for actual resistance, because it's a 12-volt source, and I'm almost at 12 volts with the 4 blue LEDs. So you can kind of do the calculation yourself if you want. Whatever current I was going for, I can't remember right now, but to do a large, I need 4 of these resistors. So let's just pull out 4 of these. We'll get that ready to go. And then we can launch into time lapse. Here we go. Now that's the resistors. Next up, we've got the LEDs, and you might notice that on this one, they are all laying down. In fact, let me try and put that on the next camera so you can get a close-up, the side camera, if you will. And the reason I did that was to make it a more sort of continuous ring of light. If I had them just sticking up, you just see the points of light. By laying them down, you get a little bit more of a line than a point. So I'm going to need about 16 of these. Let's just dump a bunch of them out. And the other thing is, if you look at the circuit board, you will see that each of these is rotated in such a way that you can tilt it towards the next one. So just to give you an idea, I want to get the polarity right. We'll talk about that in a second, but I can put this one up here. And what I'm going to do is then fold it down so it's pointing to the next one. You want to leave just enough room to get the leads for the next one in. And then you're just going to turn it over and solder. And actually what I do is I solder one leg first and then turn it over and double check, because just in flipping it over, you might end up rotating it slightly and then it's not sitting in the correct position. It's not super critical, but you want to get it close. And by having that one lead soldered down, you can then bend the other lead to kind of fit the way you want it to. And so that pretty much takes care of one of the 16. We cut the leads off, we put them in our cutoff bin, and we move on with the remaining 15. So back to time lapse. I forgot to mention the polarity thing that I just said I was going to mention. So when you look at the LEDs, there should be, on most LEDs, a positive and a negative lead. The positive is usually longer, and if you use, let me grab a battery here, just a simple button cell battery, you can actually test out your LED and test out that it's actually correct that way. So on a button cell battery, usually the larger flat side is the positive. So I'm going to line it up that way, and if it lights up, we're off and running. So that is correct. And I could test all of these, but I'm just going to trust it for now, and I've got enough extras that if I have to, I can pull one out. So back to the time lapse. Oops. All right. I'm moving a little too fast. Sometimes that happens when you kind of rush yourself to get something done, or you don't want your video to be too long. But what I forgot to mention, while I did talk about the positive and negative on here, I didn't talk about the positive and negative on here. The standard symbol for an LED has a flat side to it, and that flat side is the negative side. So let me put that on the other camera there, and hopefully you can see that these have a flat side. There's a whole bunch of them with a flat side, but we're just doing the outer ring right now. So there we are, back to it. All right, I think it's about time we give this a test. We're halfway built, so I'm going to put the header on from the back because I want the longer pin. I want the shorter pins going in here now. The longer pins. This is a little tricky. You got to kind of hold it and then set it down, and then you only want to solder one pin in and make sure it's straight. That one pin will just mechanically hold it in, and then I can make sure it's reasonably straight. It's got to be adjusted slightly here. And that's just a matter of I'm just kind of moving it like this so it grabs the mat, and I can rotate the header, and I just melt the solder to loosen it up a bit, and then it'll solidify again. And there, I got it nice and straight. So I'm going to get the other 3 pins. Actually, only 2 of them are being used in this particular case, but I choose to go with all 4 pins because A, it's less complicated to break off just 4 of them in a row instead of doing individual pins, and mechanically the whole thing will be that much more stable. So now I've got the power connected to this. I need to look at what I'd already done for testing. So I'm going to pull that out real quick. And let's see if I've already got a power connector on that. Yep, I do. All right. So what I can do is pull, let me get this separated for a second here, pull a whole mess out. And it may not be completely obvious, but this is what the coupler looks like. Let me put that on the side camera there so you can see. There's our, come on, focus up for me. There we go. That's the coupler. And so I've got power coming in on this side here, going to a jack that I can use my 12-volt supply with. And then that continues on through all of these to light them up. Now, here's the one that I'm building. So I can take that now, and when I plug it into the, okay, I forgot. I made 5 pins on the coupler, which was possibly a mistake. I'm trying to remember now. I think I was thinking about having multiple voltages running through these couplers potentially and just developing my own sort of interface for power. But ultimately, we're only talking about the 12-volt supply right now, so I'm going to plug it in towards the left side of this because I can see the plus on the first pin on the left there. I'm going to plug this in here. All right, that's in, and then these holes should line up here, and I should be able to grab a 12-volt supply. Where would I put my, you know what? We'll just make it work. Here's a different 12-volt supply that has this connector on it. This is just basically an adapter to go from one to the other, and this should now, I got to match red with red and black with black, and when I plug it in, hopefully everything works. Okay. Now here's the new one. Okay, there's some kind of little flaky problem on the connector, but otherwise all the LEDs are lighting up. So the ornament itself is okay. I'm just going to double check these connections here, and then we'll move on and get the rest of this. I'm going to clean up and we'll get the rest of these LEDs on. Okay, time to do a final test. If I can find the right cord again. Yep, there we go. And I've got all 16 of them around here. If I've done it right, they'll all light up. If not, we do a little troubleshooting. And it looks like they all lined up. So you can see, actually, this is 2 large ones set together. And this is just another one that I did as a placeholder. The sparklers are actually here. The circuit board's just arrived. But I don't have the blue LEDs that I want to use for the sparkler itself. It's a different LED. It is not a blue color lens. It's a clear but frosted lens. But what I'm thinking about is I might actually, in the next video, build a sparkler on a white circuit board like this and just go ahead and use these, and then I can pop them back out later. So we'll have to see how that's going to work out. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how you build one of the ornaments in either red or blue. The blue, like I said, is using the 62 ohm resistor, And the reds, I was using a 390 ohm resistor, so that gives you some information. I'll also put it down below. And the circuit boards will be linked down below. If not right when you see this, soon after. I'm just trying to get everything together and get all the files set up and where you can download them. So that's how we do this. That's got the red and blue taken care of. Next up, we're going to deal with the sparklers, and then we can hang them and see how well it's going to work so we can turn them on the 4th of July. Thank you so much for watching.